I remember this girl ended up walking into the classroom and she ended up going in front of the class and basically ended up explaining how white people were better than everyone else. No joke, it even got to the point where she said one word that might have gotten everyone canceled. Yo, what is going on, you guys? My name is Bubba, and welcome back to another crazy, but I gotta say, insane story. Now, today's story all takes place back when I was in high school, and this was my grade 11 year. Now, in grade 11, I took a class called Social Studies, where basically you learn about the history of whatever country you're from. As for me, I was born in Canada, so I had to learn the history of Canada, and don't get me wrong, it's pretty boring like any other history class. But I remember one day when I entered in my Social Studies class in my grade 11 year, I ended up seeing a girl that I did not recognize. Now, me not recognizing a girl, especially my grade 11 year, was super rare because I was a major player growing up, so I kind of knew almost every girl in my high school. So when I saw her, I remember I walked up to her and said, "Hey, like, are you new here?" Yeah, but I don't really talk to your kind." "My kind?" "Yeah, you're not part of like the 1%, so I can't really talk to you." Now at this moment, I thought this was maybe a financial thing. Maybe her family was super rich and she didn't want to talk to anyone that was actually broke. So I ended up walking away from her knowing that she had a major ego, and I decided to do my own thing. But I remember as I sat down, everyone else in the class started to come in for class to start, and that's when things got really weird. Because when everyone came and sit down, I remember one of my friends that were in my class that was African ended up sitting beside this girl. And when she saw them sit down, no joke, she ended up standing up and moving table groups to a group where it was just white people sitting in a section of the classroom. Now at that moment, I was like, okay, wait a second. Is it something to do with really the 1%? Or is this something about racism? Now, obviously, before I continue on with the story, I just want to say I don't condone racism whatsoever. I don't believe being racist is something that's actually worth anyone's time and values, especially to the lengths that this girl took it. But going on with the story, I remember my social studies teacher ended up walking in, and the one unit we were learning that day was, funny enough, slavery. Now, slavery was a big deal back in history. I think we all know this, and especially if you guys are in school right now learning about this, you guys would know. It was a big part of American and actually, I guess, worldwide history. And I remember as we were learning this, the teacher was explaining the Underground Railroad, you know, Harriet Tubman, all those like American history that has to do with slavery. And while one thing led to another, this girl got mad. And she ended up raising her hand saying, "Excuse me, miss, I don't really want to learn about this. Is it cool if I leave?" At that moment, I remember everyone in the classroom just started looking around, confused on what in the world this girl was saying. And then that's when finally the teacher was like, "Oh, like, are you not comfortable with the history lesson?" No, it's not that. It's just, I don't believe in this stuff." And that's when this girl got up and left the classroom. I remember everyone in the class went, "Ooh." And this girl was officially known to be one of the most racist girls in school after that moment. But what this girl ended up planning to do next really blew everyone's minds, because the next day when we ended up all going back into socials class, I remember I ended up walking up to her because I had the major question I had to ask her. And I went up to her and said, "Hey, like, I just have a question. Are you like not comfortable with like, you know, other races?" "What? No, you guys are just like a minority and like I'm the majority. Like, you guys don't understand, like, I am more important than you guys. And you guys just don't seem to understand that, thinking you guys can walk freely in this country like you guys own the place." I didn't know what to reply to that. I'm not gonna lie to you. When she said that, I was mind blown, because there was no way a girl in especially my high school that was in grade 11 thought this much about the other races other than the white race. So at that moment, I ended up basically staying away from her and decided to ignore her once again. But then once again, the teacher ends up walking into the classroom, starting a lesson, and this time the lesson was about the freedom of speech. At this moment, everyone in the class had an opportunity to walk up in front of the classroom and say something that they always want to say. You know, since we're learning about the freedom of speech, we had no censorship whatsoever on what we wanted to say, and that we would not get in trouble. Like, no joke, the teacher actually literally said word for word, "You guys can come up here and say whatever you want. I promise I won't get you in trouble. You guys are allowed to say whatever feels necessary. That is the power of freedom and speech." So at that moment, I remember some guys went up and obviously made a joke saying some like, you know, funny words. Some guy brought up his eggplant. Some guy even told a story about, you know, doing the devil's tango. And if you guys are wondering, yeah, that was me. I'm not gonna lie. Most of my class was disgusted, but hey, they don't understand how cool I was back in high school, okay? But after everyone went up, there was still one person left that had to go up, and that was the girl that believed in the 1%. Now, I remember she looked around the classroom and she said once again asking, "Wait, so we can say anything?" "Yes, you can say absolutely anything you want," is what the teacher replied. And that's when this girl walked up in front of the classroom and she said, "Honestly, I don't understand why so many of you guys are like not white. Like, seriously, why are you guys even in school? people. You do realize your cultures are literally pointless. And also, as for you guys, like, you guys should be working for me. I am actually purebred white, and I am actually 10 times better than everyone here. No joke. I don't understand why you guys even exist at this point. At that moment, everyone started looking at each other, and she decided to go off and say, yeah, look at each other. Understand that you guys are all pointless, and all of you guys are a bunch of... And at that moment, she said the hard R N-word, and everyone in the classroom started freaking out. We all didn't know why this girl was like this, and I remember my teacher even stood up and said, okay, no, that's enough. You're going to the office right now. But then this girl replies, excuse me, you said it was freedom of speech, and that is my freedom of rights, like you just said. So I'm gonna go sit back down at my desk, and everyone should take a lesson on what I just said. She went and sat down, and I remember even people that were sitting around her in the table group, that she was out, all the other white people, I guess, that she wanted to sit with, ended up standing up and leaving her. I think everyone watching this video can agree that what she was doing and saying to everyone in the classroom was so out of pocket that I wouldn't even be able to sit next to her. I remember everyone just started leaving the classroom, and she was left alone in there. And it got to the point where the principal actually ended up walking down the school hallway, and he saw that the majority of my social studies class was leaving the classroom. And that's when he said, why are you guys all leaving the classroom? What's going on here? Everyone explained what happened, and when one thing led to another, the teacher wanted to make an example out of her. So we all ended up going back into the classroom, sitting down, knowing that she was going to get in major trouble, but things just ended up getting worse. Because I remember as the teacher went in front of the classroom, she ended up basically standing up right next to him, and that's when he asked, do you want to explain to me where you're from, and why do you feel like you have the right to basically call everyone the hard R and treat everyone with less respect just because they're not of your descent? Yeah, so you see, since I'm a purebred white, I am like more important naturally. I was born into this world with proper benefits that last in my world, but you guys are all just existent in it. At this moment, we all looked at each other super weirded out, and well, one thing led to another. This girl's parents actually ended up walking through the door, and when they walked in, it all started to make more sense, because as this girl was in front of the classroom saying all this, her parents that walked in were actually cheering for her for saying her rights, as if she didn't already have rights. Like, bro, it's not 1987, it's not 1942 or whenever slavery was. We were in like Gen Z. Like, what is this girl yapping about? But when her parents started cheering, the principal didn't get the reaction that he wanted from the parents, and well, they all ended up going to the office, and one thing led to another. This girl actually ended up getting expelled. She got expelled from our school, and I remember the next day, our teacher gave us a long talk and a lesson about racism. And I'm gonna say this right now, for anyone watching this video that is even a tiny bit racist, you gotta understand that at this point, I don't think it should matter. Being racist does not benefit anyone in any way, and especially like this girl was, it's just a bad look on you, not towards your country. But if you guys also believe that being racist isn't right, then fall for more embarrassing stories just like this one. Peace out, guys.